There's a common sight that still surprises many first-time visitors to Hong Kong. Every Sunday, streets and public areas are crammed with thousands of domestic helpers enjoying their one day off. Many of them are Filipinos, and the money they earn helps keep their families back home alive. Toiling away for years, and now they want the same rights as other residents. Adrian Brown reports.
All things wise and wonderful, the Lord made them all.
This is the closest Jenny has come to holding her 4-year-old daughter Valerie in over a year.
You stand up. Wow, naka-short. Wow.
Jenny's been a domestic worker in Hong Kong for 15 years. Today is a rare treat. She's borrowed a friend's laptop in order to Skype her family in the Philippines.
And when will you next see her?
On September 2012.
So almost 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long...
That's painful.
Yeah, very painful. But no choice.
Jenny is one of the estimated 300,000 Filipina and Indonesian women working as live-in maids in Hong Kong. An invisible army most of the time, Sunday is their day off. And with nowhere else to go, they congregate where they can, in public squares and subways, even by the side of the road.
This is where they can find their friends. This is where they can talk anything they want. This is where they also can be happy and be sad, be there themselves.
It's a sight locals are used to, but it fascinates visitors.
Well, I was wondering if it was some sort of protest or organized movement of some sort, but...
They're all domestic helpers.
It's quite incredible, and this is how they spend their day off.
The maids, many working 16-hour days for a minimum wage, form the backbone of domestic life here. But resentment towards them is growing. Furious locals are demanding that foreign maids be forbidden from calling Hong Kong home.
They shouldn't have the right to stay in Hong Kong because they just work in Hong Kong.
It all stems from a maid who's worked in Hong Kong for 25 years. Last year, she had her application for permanent residency rejected. She took her claim to Hong Kong's High Court and won. But in a bitter legal case, the Hong Kong government is fighting back.
The issue here is one of equal rights. Whether the 300,000 maids from Southeast Asia who do the territory's dirty jobs should be allowed to stay in Hong Kong permanently if they qualify. These people say no. They say you can work here, but you can't stay for good.
Under the former British colony's mini-constitution, any foreigner who remains in Hong Kong for 7 years is entitled to apply to become a permanent resident. Immigration guidelines have always specifically excluded maids, though.
This is not about nationality.
Yes, it is.
This is about the
race.
Hong Kong interest. Can we support?
Race.
Now, if they come here, 150 a day, I don't care they are what kind of races. They come here based on the right visa, legally. We can afford, that's fine. You know, we will not here, you won't see us here.
Cynthia Abdon-Teles is from the Mission for Migrant Workers. She says their contribution to Hong Kong's booming economy is often overlooked.
It's unfortunate that some people do not see the worth of foreign domestic workers because in a way they're one of those who have provided a space for members of a household to do other work.
Hong Kong's maids are not only unappreciated, she says, but many would prefer if they were kept out of sight. A few years ago, the Hong Kong government proposed confining the maids to an underground car park on their one day off.
I think that's the reason why they don't want them here, because they're an eyesore. That's what they say. The proponents are saying, oh, it's such a posh central Hong Kong and you have them there. It's just an eyesore.
Are they second-class citizens?
They are in fact treated as one. It's unfortunate. That's very sad.
Many locals are afraid that if maids are given the right to stay permanently in Hong Kong, it'll open the floodgates to thousands applying, overwhelming the former British colony.
Social resources, education, accommodation, everything. We simply cannot accommodate a huge number of population.
Joseph Law is chairman of the group that defends the rights of those who employ foreign helpers.
We object to that idea, not because we discriminate them. It's because of the number of people involved. That is the main reason. But since this case, especially when the court of first hearing found in favor of the applicant, then immediately the Immigration Department received a large number of applications, over 100 a day, on one particular day.
And he says there should be no exception, including his own maid, Alina.
Alina, could you move that back? That way. That's it. Don't bang it against the wall.
Okay.
I like my maid, okay? But it doesn't mean that by rewarding her, she should get the right of a bow. I always argue the way that I should reward her for her good work is by a good package, by good condition of service.
So he's a good employer?
You're fair.
Fair.
Fair. Okay, come.
Do you want to live in Hong Kong full time?
Not sure.
Not sure.
That's it. Not sure.
That's it. Not sure.
Potential.
Josefina Toledo is packing up and returning to the Philippines, unemployed once more and with 2 children to provide for. Verbally and emotionally abused by her employer, her final humiliation came when she was thrown out on the street.
Lumabas yung mag-asawa at sinigawan ako at sabay tawa sila. Tapos nag-sign yung lalaki ng fuck you. Tapos bumalik ulit yung lalaki na yon at pinagkukuhanan kami ng picture. Ang sabi sa agency, ako daw ang may gawa ng bakit nila ako sinisigawan. Samantala ng time na yon, umiiyak lang ako. Kaya ayun, hindi ko yun makakalimutan dahil sama ng loob ko sa amo kong lalaki dahil sa pag-sign ng fuck you sa amin.
She's now in a refuge for abused maids. Its location is secret.
There is one also here, one resident whereby she was raped several times. But because she's new also in Hong Kong, she doesn't know what to do.
Refuge coordinator Esther Bangsawayan says that cases of sexual abuse often go unreported. The victim suffers in silence.
But it goes on.
But it goes on because as
and the girls are too frightened to report it?
Yes.
Because they might lose their job? So they endure
They might lose their job and they endure that.
If the Hong Kong government wins its appeal against the maids' right to stay permanently, these women will continue to have few rights and no access to social welfare.
So I'm now feeling better than last time because every day is so painful.
Wayuni has just arrived at the refuge from hospital.
I just finished the operation because I have some tumor in my stomach. Then
She tells me that while she was being treated for cancer, her employer terminated her contract. Wayuni thinks her employer feared having to pay her medical costs. Her hospital bill remains unpaid.
I think there is a racial element to this, and it's touched a raw nerve with people on, on a number of levels.
Canadian lawyer and Hong Kong resident Mark Daly has taken up the Maids' campaign for permanent residency. He's up against the legal arsenal of the Hong Kong government, which he says is stirring up bias against the domestic helpers by claiming hundreds of thousands of them could eventually settle here.
I'm surprised that the government have thrown out those exaggerated numbers. You'll have to ask them. I'm shocked by it.
So what's the motivation?
Again, you'll have to ask them. I think it's absurd. I think there is, unfortunately, a lot of popular support based on misinformation that I think has been promoted by the government and certain pro-government political parties for their own political reasons.
The Hong Kong government won't comment while the matter's before the courts, but it's warned that if it loses, it may ask China's central government to intervene.
So for today, we're inviting everyone. This is the first day of giving care under the project of Give Care to our caregivers.
There are others who do care for Hong Kong's underclass of domestic workers. Today, the Mission for Migrant Workers is offering free services to all maids. Apart from complimentary haircuts and manicures, the Mission's also offering counselling and employment advice.
The only reason why we exist as a mission is because there is kind of a significant number of those who are exploited.
Cynthia Abdon Teles from the Mission of Migrant Workers says Hong Kong's maids have a long battle ahead of them.
Foreign domestic workers are not a group of people who never carry the burden. A lot of policies are almost always against them. They're not taking away jobs. They're not doing that. They're here working decently, and I think that has to be recognized.
But for Jenny, this is not the life she wants forever. Hong Kong, she says, has nothing to fear.
We are here to save and to have our own house, such that when we go back to Philippines, we can live together with our family.
It's a big sacrifice.
Yeah, we sacrifice ourselves for their own good.
Adrienne Brown in Hong Kong. The plight of Filipino maids around the world has now become a foreign policy issue for the Filipino government, starting at last to lobby on their behalf, as they should, with 20% of the country's GDP coming from the wages they send home.